So to introduce myself again, Andrea, hi. I am known as the slow coach. And there's a very good reason for that. Despite being a level 2 accredited running coach with Athletics Australia, I've actually never been athletic. I never ran at school. I was never the sporty kid. I'm still not, to be honest. I was always the nerd at the back of the classroom, always worn really thick glasses, came last in every cross-country event at school, sang in the choirs, did all the nerdy things. So the complete opposite of a natural athlete. And even since graduating from high school, I remain a fairly dedicated couch potato, actually. I'm a book-loving academic geek, beetroot face, slightly duck-footed gait, the works. But like many of us, I've been through a couple of things in life. Life's thrown a couple of curveballs, and almost by accident, I discovered that running was a way to cope. And that's kind of what we're going to chat about tonight. So, I am a South African immigrant living in Australia. Immigration in itself is not for the faint-hearted. But in the last probably 20 years or so, we've been through a couple of things. My husband was diagnosed with cancer about 16 or 17 years ago. He's thankfully now fully recovered. But in the interim, I've also lost a couple of friends to cancer, dearly loved souls who I miss very much and think about every day. We had a lot of trouble getting pregnant and staying pregnant. So I went through 10 cycles of IVF. And when we finally did get pregnant with a much longed for second baby, I went into labor at 23 weeks of gestation, and we were told that our beloved little baby was not viable and wouldn't survive. Thankfully, he actually beat the odds, and he did. But I spent 3 months in hospital with a lot of preterm labor, went into labor once or twice a week for about 3 months. And then even when I came out of all of that, we still had a very premature little boy, another 4-year-old at home, no family support, being immigrants. And then to top that off, we ended up moving again. We moved from Sydney to Perth, just, another city. But once again, we had no networks. So having processed all of that, I found myself battling really massive amounts of anxiety. Quite overwhelming, really, like having a bowling ball in my stomach for days and weeks and months on end, and not eating and obsessing and all the things that anxiety does for you. But somehow, and to be honest, I don't actually know what brought on the first run, but somehow, somewhere in all of that, I started running. And quite by accident, I discovered that running was, amongst other things, an amazing source of child-free time. And it was creative time. It suddenly was where I got all my good ideas. But obviously, and critically, it was a incredible tool for managing my anxiety. It improved my mental health. It improves my physical health. And it connected me to a running community, which I'll get into a little bit more down the track. It started to give me a lot of confidence. I started to tick off goals, my first 2K, my first 5K, running to the top of a hill that I couldn't run to before. It was a slow process, but it really was a transformative one. What I don't want this to be is a gauzy tale of memes and inspiration, because it isn't. It's not the perfect picture. As I said before, I'm very awkward. I'm socially awkward. I'm physically awkward. I'm all the things. And I'm quite laughable when I run. And if I'm truly honest, I actually don't even like running very much. And that's astonishing, given that you're all here to listen to me talk about running, and I am a running coach. I don't necessarily like running very much, but what I have discovered is that I really like who I am after a run. It untangles all the knots in my head and creates a lot of space for me to become a better person. And running solves a lot of problems. I'm sure that it does for many of you as well. The ways that running has affected me is that it's brought me incredible friends. It's a sense of tribe. You know, you pass someone on the road during a run and you wave and you're instantly mates. As I've touched on already, it's given me confidence. I find this almost quite hard to say, but it is hard to be proud of yourself. I'm sure you'll all identify. Pride is not something that you can buy, but achieving a significant race or catching sight of yourself in the mirror or all those things where you suddenly think, I like who that person is and I'm proud of that person. And it's an unspeakably big gift to give yourself. I recently, middle of April, I think, I ran my first marathon in Canberra. When I say ran, I finished it in 5 hours 35, I think. There's a very good reason they call me the slow coach. But the thing is, I ran it and I finished it. And if I could go back 10 years and tell myself that my past self would never believe that my future self was capable of running a marathon. But I did. And to be honest, it still gives me the smiles. I'm sure many of you might have seen that quote that does the round, but it's very, very true for me, which is that I spent years thinking that I couldn't run a marathon, but I will spend the rest of my life knowing that I did. Just gives me goosebumps, really. To talk a little bit about the coaching though, the reason I started the Slow Coach is that despite running for the best part of about 10 years, I haven't got any faster. A good run for me is 6 or 7 minutes a K. A bit of a plodder really. But I started to realize that the speed to me anyway didn't matter. As I said already, the sense of accomplishment and the friends and the confidence and the tribe and all those things, that's the reason I run. But as I did more and more running, and as I looked around at the mainstream running community, I just noticed a space in the conversation, really. So much of the mainstream running media is about getting faster, getting fitter, getting stronger, getting better. And all of those things are great. I don't mean to take anything away from any of that because they are important. They're important to lots of runners. But there was so much more that was important to me that I wasn't seeing being represented. I wanted to see images of bigger runners and older runners and injured runners. I wanted to talk about how I didn't come first, but in fact, I came last, and that's still something that I'm proud of. I still wanted the high fives, and I still wanted to support other people who can't run quickly, but who still wanted to have a go and wanted that to be valid. Runners are actually an awesome bunch. They are a very, very inclusive, very welcoming, very supportive tribe. But the thing is, it doesn't always feel that way when you're standing on the outside. So, as a newbie runner, you look at the group running past you on the street and they all look a certain way, crop tops and perfect ponytails and t-shirts from expensive overseas races. And you have this strong sense of not belonging. I just wanted to open that door a little bit wider and say that it doesn't matter how slowly you run. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter if you've never run before, or if you do run, but you're always at the back of the pack. I just think those things are still awesome. And I wanted to make a space for people who wanted to train or run together without the baggage. I'm not interested in getting faster. I'm still not interested in getting faster, but I am interested in running for joy. I'm interested in running for personal achievement, for time to think, for time on my feet, and as I said earlier, for making friends. In terms of running now, running in COVID, that's a big one. It's tough. It's tough to remain motivated when there's no races. perhaps something that massive that you've been training for has been cancelled. Somehow your goals don't seem to matter quite as much. It can be hard to get through the fog of homeschooling and mask wearing and afraid of touching things and all the other baggage that we suddenly kind of find ourselves trapped under. So running in COVID is challenging. But my suggestion to cope with all of that is a couple of things. I am a big believer in setting goals. Now, I know they don't work for everybody. And by all means, if they don't work for you, just disregard that, disregard this. But if you have a goal for your first 2K, 5K, 10K, or whatever, write it down, be accountable to it, tell somebody about it, and then set a second goal. Because if you're like me and you train for 24 weeks and you run your first 5K and you think that's awesome, and then you fall over and you spend the next 6 months on the couch. I've done that more than once. If I'm honest, I've done it probably more than 5 times. So what I've started to do is to set a goal and then to set a second goal. So once you set your goal for your first 2K, your first half marathon, or whatever the case may be, just at the back of your mind, have another one. So once you've done 2, you're going to do 5. Once you've done a half, you're going to do a full, whatever the case may be. But that second goal will just keep you training after the first goal is finished. But the real thing that has made the difference to my running, far more important than goals, is reason, to have a why. Discipline comes and goes, motivation comes and goes, but having a why, having a reason to get out the door that is bigger than something like than a 5K, that's, to be honest, the real thing that gets me going. So in my case, my why has to do with something I mentioned earlier. I have observed a lot of people that I love really, really dearly doing a very brave battle with cancer. And I've realized that the one thing that I have that they do not have is a healthy body. So I've decided that I'm going to mark this chapter and I'm going to give myself the gift of looking back on this one day and saying, I may not be healthy now, but once I was, and I did that, and I marked that, and I'm proud of that. And that's my why. I run because I can. I run on behalf of the people I love who can't. And it's a far bigger motivator. It's far more powerful than any, 5K goal. And after 10 years of running 4, 5, 6 times a week, I think about it on every single run. And I hope that might help you too in this COVID context. Running through any challenge is tricky, but mindset is everything. And it might be useful to think of this as a period of retraining or a period to recover from injury, to do the stretching and the yoga and the rehab that your physio told you to do that you've never got around to doing. If your race has been cancelled, you can still set a virtual one. A personal challenge doesn't even need to be a group challenge. I am getting ready to turn 50 in about a month or so, 6 weeks or so. And I'm going to try and run 50 kilometers for my 50th birthday, which will be a big call for me, but that's my challenge at the moment. So yeah, sign up for a virtual race or join a new club. And in fact, that's something we hope to talk about tonight. We're going to talk to you all about possibly running together as a free club locally in the area. We'll get to that in a second. I fear that I've talked for a lot more than my 10 minutes, but running is a tool to being happy. It really is. It's the endorphins, it's the runner's high. It's a chance to see friends, and it's an opportunity to remember your why. So I'll leave it there because I've spoken far too much. Very, very quickly before we go, I'll just tell you a little bit about my Slow Coach community. Hopefully you can see this, just sharing. If this is not working, someone please type up and let me know. As a slow coach, I have a couple of options for you if you'd like to run with me. My Running Behind group meets locally on the St. Ives Village Green, Ku-ring-gai's North Shore. We meet on a Monday at 6 a.m. and a Thursday at 9:15 a.m. And if you need to, your babies, your children, and your dogs are very, very welcome to come with us. We just incorporate them into the training. As I've said already, It's a group that celebrates running, all levels, all abilities, everybody. It's $120 for a package of 10 classes, but because you've been on the call tonight, and as my thank you to you, I'd love to offer you a 10% discount using that discount code. It won't be on your screen for long, but don't worry, I will email it to you after the session. If you're not local and you are interested in an online running membership package, I have what I believe to be the only running membership program that is specifically created for slower runners, bigger, older, injured runners like me. It's only $55 a year, which for the time includes a one-on-one consultation. I'll help you create a running plan. Gives you access to a great community of support. Some phenomenal discounts on shoes, races, gear. I think, I haven't done the maths, but I'm pretty sure that the discounts alone will more than cover your membership. And a knowledge center, articles and videos that have specifically been created for runners like me, slower runners, and beginner runners. So I'll stop there because I've spoken for longer than my 10 minutes. Sorry, Simon. It gives me great pleasure, though, to introduce my friend and colleague, Simon Finch. Simon and I have been friends since childhood. He is the complete opposite of the running spectrum to me. He is fast, fit, and fabulous. He's a Sydney-based coach and runner. As you might already know from the marketing blurb, he held the All-African Elite Triathlon Championship title in 1999. He has raced and coached professionally, both as a runner and as a triathlete in France. And he qualified for the Hawaii Ironman, which, as many of you know, is quite an achievement. He has a natural passion for helping others achieve through empowering structured training systems that create a positive, balanced, motivating, and purposeful environment where results can take care of themselves. Over to you, Si.
Thank you, and great to hear your talk there. It's fascinating. Thank you very much, and thanks very much for inviting me and riding on your tailcoats a little bit for this webinar. And thanks to everyone joining. Hopefully you can all hear me. I haven't heard any objections yet. All good? Okay.
Perfectly.
Yeah, so I guess the topic for tonight was around, how we're using exercise or running specifically on coping mechanisms, and in this day and age, I think it's quite topical. So that's why I was quite excited to join tonight. Life can really throw some punches sometimes, and I think we're really rolling with a few at the moment. I guess most people are here online. I'm from Sydney, so I think you'll understand after the recent announcement of the extension to our lockdown for another week. Yeah, it's quite surreal, quite challenging. But challenging and challenges are what life's about, I guess. I think you just have to remember that we've done this all our lives, right? We've challenged ourselves when we were kids or babies to walk. We challenged ourselves to ride a bike for the first time. We challenged ourselves to get through exams at school, and we adapted and grew from that. So it's a part of life. Just this morning, walking the kids to the local vacation care at the school, we actually walked past a car that was parked up on the side of the road and the engine was running, which is, I had a look in the car and see what was going on there. And there was a lady in the front seat with a laptop open on the phone, working away, adapting. So, or maybe her house heating was not working at the time or something, because it's really cold here in Sydney at the moment. So through challenge, we adapt. We become more able and more resilient, more stronger, and we become more powerful. So I'll touch on that a little bit later, bring it all back. I find running is a great metaphor for life. You challenge yourself on every run, you adapt, and that metaphor goes even deeper. Like in life, you have good runs and more challenging runs. You have runs where you're feeling great, you're floating along, you're feeling like you could run forever. And then there are other runs where you feel like you're running in sludge, you're not feeling like you're getting anywhere. But I always think, no matter what, it's great because I'm out there running, I'm challenging myself, and with that, I'm adapting as well. There's obvious physiological adaptations that are happening when we're running. There's also a huge amount of psychological adaptations that are going on as well, and both of them are making you and myself awesomely powerful, and that's what we've got to bear in mind. So always keep an eye on the big picture, especially in times like we are living in and now, and look at the trends rather than specific days. Days will come and go. So yeah, just on that, I'll maybe dive a little bit of history about myself. I guess my passion for health and fitness really started when I was young. Good health was something that I learned was not to be taken for granted after losing my mother to cancer when I was just 12. Seeing someone suffer for years and eventually die from ill health certainly entrenched and even tattooed in me, on me. That no one is entitled to good health. You can do all the right things, eat the right foods, live the healthy lifestyle, but good health is never guaranteed. And if you have it, cherish it, respect it, and make use of it. So that awareness at an early age led me to a passion for sport and fitness after I left school, and it's been an eternal drive for me ever since. That drive was very focused for me for over 6 years as a professional triathlete. It drove me to the best I can be, to eke out every ounce of performance, which Andreas has touched on, led me to winning the All-African Elite Triathlon Championships in 1999, the year before the inaugural Olympic triathlon in Sydney. I then raced professionally in France and Europe for several years and competed in multiple world championships, including the Ironman World Championships in Hawaii, which is one of my lifetime dreams to have done when I was back as a youngster, looking at these athletes racing in those conditions and watching the coverage on that. So I guess throughout the years, proceeding competitive racing, the passion has always been there, but the focus has shifted from competition, performance, and race results to maintaining a healthy lifestyle alongside a full-time corporate career, and now bringing up 2 young kids who I guess are now my new marathon, or rather ultra, that never seems to end, but it's fun. For me, running has always provided a stable go-to, even during life and as life changes. In more recent years, I've suffered from depression and anxiety, going through a very difficult and distressing divorce at the moment, but alongside professional help, my running has really helped me steady the boat, so to speak, give me that common, understood, happy place that has brought me to so much joy over the decades. And it gives me a sense of control, a sense of power, as I can control how I challenge myself physically. And that power builds. You leverage that power into different and other aspects of your life. If I can run a marathon, I can get through this task at work. If I can do an ultra, or if I can just do a 5K run, I can get through this study assignment or whatever it might be, and vice versa. I know a number of mums out there who are possibly on the call here. You've produced a human being, so hell, you can run up that hill. You've got it. You've done awesome things, and we can leverage experiences in the past to overcome future challenges that come up, and I think that's really powerful, and it builds on itself. So the sense of power is very personal, much like much like running. running is just you and the road and the trail. No one else can run for you. It's just you, and you're accountable for it. But with that accountability, the rewards are equally just for you as well. So I think it's important to note. That personal power grows with every run as well, but it doesn't mean that you have to keep on pushing yourself harder and harder and farther and keep on pushing the limits every time. For me now, a jog around the block gives me that same sense of accomplishment, even after competing at a high level in previous years. And why? Because I can go out and I can run. I have the good health, and I feel privileged and empowered to use that as much as I can. And this is all scientific based, right? I'm not just making this up. I promise you, the endorphins released from exercise are a feel happy drug that results in feeling of well-being, and this can feed and drive naturally healthy lifestyles, healthy mental states, where you sleeping better, eating better, concentrating better, working better. The list goes on. And there's endless power in that sense of accomplishment, that sense of well-being, enforcing that can-do attitude. I did run up that hill. I did run around the block. I did do a 50K run, whatever it might be. It makes for a more powerful you. So do yourself a favor. Give yourself a high five every time you set out on your next run, especially now in these COVID days when nobody else is allowed to give you a high five. You're doing something powerful for yourself by showing yourself you're powerful. So yeah, that's my little spiel, I guess. Moving on to what's next and how we improve and how we make ourselves even more powerful. I have four C's. Firstly, is consistency. Running regularly, mostly slowly, and that's the foundation, right? That's very important. The next is the challenging. So we've spoken a little bit and touched on challenging. Challenge yourself with harder workouts, drills, cross training, whatever it might be. Just that challenge makes for further adaptation, makes you more powerful, stronger. The third C being comparing. So we want to compare ourselves, not against other people, but against ourselves, and through races, through time trials, through testing, so that we understand how we are adapting to the program, how we are adapting to the training. Without that, we're pretty lost. We don't really know whether we're going forward or backwards, and just comparing it to the time of year where you've got races coming up or not, or whether you're first starting out, whether you're in recovery phase, whatever. So comparing that, and then the final C I would put down to change, and that's the adapting side of it. The program should follow from the feedback from that compare state, tweaking, improving, focusing, and adapting as you work through the program. So those to me are the four C's that I kind of work on. But I'd say that these are all best done with experienced and external eyes. No matter what level you're at, there is definite benefit from this. I myself had many coaches along the way, and even today I have a running coach. It definitely helps to have a separate view, a more pragmatic view, because we will always wear a subjective lens when looking at our own performances. So for me, my coaching philosophy that I use with all the athletes that I've been coaching revolves around empowering people with personalized, scientific-based, holistic training systems that constantly help to give you direction and motivation, whether that by long-term goals, but more focused on sort of short-term goals. Every day is a win. Every day you're looking at progressing and hitting targets and achieving. I like to create that environment where it stimulates and promotes not only athletic performance, but sustainable results, but also and healthy mental attitudes and thinkings, keeping the enjoyment of the sport that you're doing at the forefront, to empower the health and the fitness that follows. I incorporate the mental aspects in my coaching, which I think is vital. Running is certainly not all physiological, but it's a lot of psychological. When you're out there in a marathon at the 35K mark, that's where it's all mental. Your body's pretty much done its thing. It's now the brain that takes over and gets you through to the finish line. So I'll leave you with the famous Henry Ford quote, where it's whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. This just emphasizes attitude and how attitude can determine your success and failure. And without, if you're interested in finding out any more or interested in working with me, feel free to have a look at my website. I'll pop that quickly on the screen so you can see where I've got a share screen somewhere. There we go, I think. Try that. And happy to chat and see whether we can help each other. Thanks very much.
Great job, Si. Thank you so much. That was so interesting. You gave me goosebumps when you said no one is entitled to good health. Really, really motivating and empowering. So,
hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Elna.
Hey, how are you going? Oopsie.
How are you?
Just trying. Good. How are you, Andrea?
Very well, thanks.
Good.
Hi, Elna.
Hi, Simon. Lovely meeting you. I just wanted to say I'm a big fan. And
thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sort of interested in both the running and the tri space. And Andrea and I had the pleasure of being together at the Canberra Marathon, which was really great. And I think just what I want to contribute to the evening is, that it's all just finding a balancing act. We are all really, really busy. But, if it's your passion to do the sport, just to find the time to go out there and, do what you enjoy. And then not be too hard on yourself, because I'm always really, really hard on myself, and I have to learn not to be. But yeah, just to find that time and amongst our busy lives to really just take care of yourself first and foremost, because the healthier and the stronger you are, the more you can really contribute to others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But there's nothing like chasing a goal and working towards things. And I think having a goal is as Andrea said earlier on, that really makes things a lot more achievable, because then you know that you're working towards something.
Yeah, goals are huge in my life, but I know that they're not the be all and end all. I know that lots of people find goals to be quite short term, and that the motivation wears off quite quickly. So it doesn't matter what works for you or what doesn't. We can offer a kind of a menu, if you like, of options, and then you pick the ones that work for your running journey. But like you, Elna, I'm very big on goals. I almost always have one.
Yeah, I mean, I like, obviously, I think goals are, and I think people generally like to achieve. So I definitely don't dismiss goals. But I think when you just maybe touch on how goals can be quite negative in a way, and that in most of the time, 99% of the time, you're in a failure state. You haven't achieved your goal, right? And we need to maybe look at what you're doing day to day. A jog around the block is still a goal, and you're still achieving things, even though you might have a big long-term goal of a marathon. Don't perhaps focus entirely on that, because it's only until you get to that race day and you actually finish that marathon that you've achieved that goal. So think of all the things you're doing along the way as goals, little goals that you're doing, and keep that motivation going. I myself have obviously put a lot of emphasis on specific races, and they've been big term or big ticket goals for me. And sometimes I've missed those, and it's can be quite devastating, because you kind of put all your eggs in one basket, because you only have that one opportunity at that one race to kind of hit it and get everything aligned. In my past with triathlon being 3 sports, and it's quite tricky to kind of balance all 3, I can honestly say that I've only had maybe 2 or 3 races where everything's kind of come together on race day. That's and that just proves, it's very tricky to get things right on race day. So look at the bigger picture, what you're achieving and the trends of how you're improving things, and if goals help you achieve that, that's great. But keep in mind on what you're doing with the system of training and improving things.
Maybe, Simon, I so agree with you. Maybe I would replace goals or focusing just on goals with purpose. It's more important also just to know that you do it for a specific purpose, whatever that may be. If it's just to achieve your own health outcomes, or being an inspiration for others, or making an impact. It's more of a purpose than a goal. So maybe a purpose is a better way of putting it.
So I see there's a comment in there about fartleks works well for motivation, and even when you're a newbie. Absolutely. I think that mixing things up is key. You got that, and that works around, I think, motivation. If you're going out running the same course and same distance at the same level every day, that'll soon get boring. We as human beings, we like to experience new things and do exciting stuff. So keeping it exciting, changing it up, mixing it up a little bit, keeps that excitement, keeps that motivation going. You just got to be careful around how much you do that. And you need to build that foundation before you kind of really start working on the speed works and increasing speed and all that. So it has to be managed in a way, and the best approach is to obviously mix things up when you, for instance, for me in my base training phase, I'm doing a lot of obviously slow running at that phase, but I mix up the trails and road runnings. Makes it a bit more interesting. Drive to different spots where I can run from. So it's different courses that I can go on, and obviously that's motivating in a way. And during that phase, I'm mixing it up with some cross training. So, I'm not doing the speed works, so to speak, but I'm working on other aspects of the training. So that mixes it up and keeps the kind of motivation going. And then you kind of introduce other aspects at certain periods of your season, or you're looking at fartleks, interval sessions, things like that to keep it exciting and the motivation going. So there's all different ways you can get that going. It just needs to be managed so that you're not going to risk injuries and kind of breaking yourself down or doing too much too soon.
Yeah, great. Thanks to everybody. There's a couple of comments about they can't see the poll, so I'm really sorry about that, but I will share the details in an email to everybody who's on the call. Simon, Alexander asks, you mentioned mostly running slowly. What pace would this be? Is it 70% of your 10K pace, or is it a heart rate based system? How do you quantify running slowly?
Yeah, so it depends on what technologies. I mean, I find I've been training and racing for decades, and to me the biggest changes that I've seen is technology and how people are using technology for this. When I started out, there wasn't even a heart rate monitors. When I started out, I was one of the first guys to run out with a t-shirt off in South Africa with the heart rate band around and getting the looks from you. What's this? What's that? And you can obviously use that as a heart rate. I think, yeah, I think the question was specifically around what kind of percentage it is. Yeah, 70 to 85%, I would say. It also depends on what event you're training for. So if it is a 10K that you kind of looking to aim for, then that would be kind of what you would base it on. Obviously, if you're looking at doing a longer distance event like Comrades Marathon or marathons, you'd base it on kind of that sort of pace and kind of restrict it down from that. For beginners who possibly don't have the technology, I would say be running at a pace where you can have a bit of a conversation with someone. Heart rates, yeah, that can be very varied as well. I personally use a power meter, a running power meter. So that's a fairly new technology that come up. And it's amazing. It's doing to running what power meters did to cycling, and revolutionized the way you train and race, because it is the voluntary system monitoring that is your effort, whereas heart rate is very much involuntary. I mean, you can't adjust your heart rate. That's a result of the effort that you're putting in, whereas the power meters are basically giving you the indications of the effort that you're putting in, and it's immediate. As soon as I start running up the hill outside my house here, it goes straight up. So I'm working a lot with that at the moment, and with my athletes that I'm coaching currently. But yeah, obviously there's a bit of an investment in there in that technology. So I give a rough idea around, just running slower than you think you should be going. I think the power meter for me has definitely done that. Really slowed me down more than speed me up, so to speak. So keep it nice and easy. You want to get that consistency going. You don't want to be smashing yourself up. You got to be thinking about the next day's training run. And make sure that you're still ready and right to do that tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
Would anybody have any last comments or questions? We're almost at 7 p.m, which is quite a bit longer than we intended to chat, but it's great that there's so much engagement. Irene says she hates hills, and I bet you are the slow. No, Irene, I can almost guarantee that you will not be. I'm usually the slowest. I run in 3 running groups, and I'm the slowest in all of them. So I reserve that spot. And we all hate hills, but hills are actually incredibly powerful. It's like doing speed work in the sky. It's a great way to develop strength and avoid injury. Okay.
A comment from Jimmy on a ski accident. So, sorry to hear that, but good that you're back and ready to run again. Yeah, slowness doesn't matter. We're very much, I think with this running group, it's for those on the line who are South African, it'll resonate a little bit. There's a big club culture, running club culture in South Africa, and there would be a club kind of conducting a time trial every once a week, and every club would have a different day, and you can just rock up and do this time trial, and afterwards there'd always be a barbecue or braai going and beers and that sort of social aspect. And that's what I think we're kind of looking to get going here in the St. Ives community. There's just that social aspect. So getting together, going for a run, obviously myself and Andrea being on calls if you needed any advice and help, and we'll be kind of organizing and kind of running the events. But yeah, very much just a social thing, get together, have a chat, talk about things running wise, or just yeah, have a chat and go for a run and have a beer afterwards type of social.
Brilliant. So we'll definitely put those details in an email to everyone who's been on this call, along with a copy of the recording. If you need to get hold of either Simon or I, so if you want to just screen grab or write down those details, I am Run with the Slow Coach, and you can find Simon through Empower Fitness. And we do both have a social media presence, which we update almost every day. in case you need to get hold of us or find out what we're doing or where we're training. You're welcome to join us. Okay, well, if that's it from me. I just wanted to say thank you very much for all of you for giving up your Thursday evening. I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. If there are any questions that I haven't answered or if Simon hasn't answered, please feel free to email us. And yeah, thank you very much. And thanks to you, Simon. I really, really enjoyed it. I learned a lot from you. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Andrea. Thanks for the invite, and thanks for everyone online. It's been great.